So Kartikeya, of course, is from Gwalior, born and brought up there, and of course went to the India school. I was already impressed, although what you have written in your bio sounded a bit kind of. I'll talk to you regarding that as well. Why you have put it that ways, but after that, of course, he moved to Boston, and
No,
pursued.
before that I moved to Delhi actually, to
Oh,
Noida.
I. Oh my God. so,
So not
so yeah.
brought up just in Gwalior. When I was still in Sindhya, my parents moved to Noida. So I was living between Noida and Sindhya.
Okay.
And then I did my 16 and 17 in Noida. And
Okay.
then I went to Boston at
Okay.
17.
Sorry about that. I miss Delhi. So Delhi is special because we are nearby Delhi in Dehradun. So then of course Boston, and kind of doing the American dream, the entire shebang, and you did it well, really well. You kind of worked in the most sort of dangerous neighborhoods of America, the dreaded ones. I mean, I would never want to walk in those neighborhoods. You've done it all, done it really well. And then of course you had this kind of awakening, so as to say, and that reflects in your book as well. We'll speak about that a bit later, and kind
Yeah,
of
you've done a
what.
lot of research.
Because it touched, the book touched me, and if even if you weren't here, I would have said the same thing, because it is everybody's journey, isn't it? It might be in America or any geographical location, but it's just that it was beautiful, it touched me, and I'll ask you more questions about that, but this entire journey of you finding yourself, going deep into the Himalayas, and sort of going on this amazing spiritual and voyage that you have undertaken, and writing these books. Of course, thank you so much for these books. And okay, enough about kind of, I have been rambling for a bit. You are the star here, the author, and I would first of all love to ask you that of course, this self-realization, this journey, I've read other books as well, but when I was reading this, it was did this autobiographical kind of aspect worry you also a little bit, because when it's too close to home, and I was just, of course, the main characters, the protagonists, James, and Veronica, and everybody else, Jessica, uh, these people seem to be so real. Oh my God.
But I have to tell you, James is not me. It's not
Okay.
autobiographical. I have to clear this up to many people because they think that it's a very autobiographical book, but it's not. Yeah.
No, that's compliment to the author, actually, because it means that the emotions were resonating. You were able to kind of understand the milieu, and sort of project it well. And I know that you have been in and around Boston, New York, everywhere, so you will understand how walking through Times
Luckily,
Square.
I was not in an unhealthy marriage and I didn't get divorced.
I know. I could, even though you are saying that it's not autobiographical, but I could sense the angst, in there somehow. Because we readers, especially who read very frequently, we try to kind of read between the lines and see where the emotion is kind of, coming in.
Yeah,
And I could
I
really
think
sense
what happened was I was writing this book as such a channel in so many ways, and the characters became so real in my head as well. And of course, there was an influence from my own experiences, yes. But like the characters became so real that the emotions were just coming through as them. Like that was my journey as a writer in the craft in that moment. And it's nice to hear that people feel that, wow, it is so autobiographical. And I always tell them it's actually not. Even my India journey is not like this.
okay.
This is very different than what I experienced. But yeah, it's nice to know that the characters are so thorough and they came out so real and are able to connect with people.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's one thing, talking about self-realization and kind of, going through it. Would love to, understand better. What do you mean by that? And of course, what happens when you go on this? It's easier said than done. to leave everything aside and kind of, go for this spiritual journey and find yourself, and of course write about it, because then it becomes doubly tough, because it's one thing in your head, but when you're actually writing it, it requires a completely different skill to put it out there.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's something I'm actually kind of always going through, and I'm currently going through as well because yeah, I personally feel that, at least for me, it's not an end self-realization. It's a continuous, endless journey, and you'll always be expanding in your awareness, in your consciousness, to be seeing things you were not aware of before.
Yeah.
So for me, self-realization or awakening journey is a continuous process of expanding in your awareness, where you are seeing things you were not seeing before,
Yeah.
and then you are taking action to kind of overcome those things that you were not aware of before, which are kind of holding you back in your present moment. So that's the way how I see it and how I approach it. And yeah, I think writing has just become a way for me, a kind of like a byproduct of my process in self-realization, to be able to be channeling that in a way where I feel that I'm creating something that's coming from that space, and I can just share that with people. So I think that is writing is just a byproduct of, I think, whatever's happening in my life. And the craft of writing is somewhere I find like it acts as a space of me of self sadhana and of integration, where I'm able to integrate all the changes I'm going through internally and
Yeah.
make sense of things in a way where it also applies to other people.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, whatever I'm realizing for myself is something that people want to eventually realize in themselves, you know. So there's definitely a huge commonality and the collective aspect of it, which is what gets me intrigued as a writer, and I try to bring that into my writing.
Wonderfully put, wonderfully put. And on page 86, I was just reading that this moment where I think so James is kind of, everything is untangled for him, so as to say, and it says that, because for once in my life, I don't want to do what you or others want me to do. I'm sick of this life. I'm sick of us. We are two miserable people living in a miserable life. Nothing feels good about our lives. We can't even talk to one another without pretending to be someone we are not. There's no love between us. I don't even remember the last time I touched you or the last time we were intimate. We rarely even see each other, and when we do, we either avoid each other or argue, I can't do this anymore. And this is the story of many people. I mean, across the board, people around us, a lot of people are trying to, fathom how to go forward in life, be happy. And this is the biggest question, distracting ourselves with gadgets and whatnot, trips, random trips. But in the now, how does one kind of deal with it and be in the reality? And you talk about multiple realities in the book as well. So, would you like to talk about this part and, of course, multiple realities?
Sure. I think the first aspect, it's a very interesting phrase of the book you have picked, because I feel like those are the inner confrontations we need to have with ourselves. In first realizing like this is what's happening. Second is that confront that by saying this is actually happening, and I need to do something about this. Either I need to change, bring this change in my relationship, or need to move on from this relationship because it's not helping the two people in it. So I think the first thing with people is they need to not live in delusions, you know. And I think reality is about acceptance of where you are at and how you're feeling. Like once you can do that, is then you can figure out a way to get out of it. But if you're in something, you're feeling stuck, you are feeling not happy, all those things are there, you need to address that first. That's the first step. So I think it's a hard step, but it's a very important step to take and to realize, and then to the action is the second step. First is just the confrontation of that step.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard one to confront because it's hard for us to confront sometimes that we are unhappy or we are depressed or we are going through something. Like we want to distract ourselves, as you said, or kind of put put something in the wound, like not see the wound, but the wound
Yeah.
is there, and it's
Yes.
only getting bigger with time. So it's just about, are we going to elongate the process of looking at the wound, or are we going to look at it and do something about it and start the healing?
Yeah. The usual is like, go to a music festival, party hard, and everything will be better. But that doesn't happen, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just,
short-term solutions, no? I think that's when, especially in relationships, that's when people start lying to each other, people start cheating on each other, or
yeah,
people start deceiving each other, and the distance just grows in the relationship. It gets worse. It doesn't get better. So if you want to save your relationship, you have to really look at what's going wrong and what's happening.
yeah,
And until unless we do that, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to make the change.
yeah. An aspect of the book which I found really beautiful, and of course, the subheading of the book is A Tale of Love, Wisdom, and Strength. So the love part with Jessica, the serendipity that happens in a street of New York, somewhere in New York, I think so. Very interesting, and how that affects whatever is happening in the plot of the book. And of course, it's much more than just a love story or whatever. It is, if when people read the book, they'll understand what I mean, because some of them might have read it, but they will understand. So tell us a bit about that, because you are writing about something much bigger, right? You're writing about wisdom, how to kind of about, of course, we talked about self-realization, and then you weave it with this story that's going on. It becomes doubly hard, right? I mean, to make sort of do justice to both aspects. It is a tricky path, I suppose.
Honestly, I wasn't even thinking so much when I was writing it. It
I,
was just
I
kind
have
of happening.
over overread the book, I suppose.
Yeah, it's fair. A lot of people are asking me all these kind of questions about the book now. But honestly, when I was writing it, I just wasn't thinking. And that's just how I write. And it's something I had to go through to accept in myself, that I'm working on a new book now as well.
Yeah.
And it took me some time to be able to be writing this book with that zone as well, and accept that my writing style is very much being in the present and not thinking.
Okay.
And that's what happened with Unheard as well. And I need to just trust in the process of writing, trust in the process of the space I am
Yeah.
in, and whatever is meant to kind of come through me in that moment, I need to just trust in that. So for me, this book was written from that space. It wasn't written from a space of how do I merge the two different things, or how do I kind of make it sense for people to understand it. It was just like the story was just coming and I was just writing.
It's amazing because when you know too much, I mean, if you get into the technicalities of the writing too much, perhaps the message and the organic nature of what you're trying to say might get affected,
It
because you're just worrying about.
absolutely gets affected. For me, it does, because the moment I start writing, thinking too much about the plot or thinking about the technicalities, as you said, like I'm not able to do justice to my writing. I'm not able to write with the emotions that I am feeling, that the characters are feeling, that the situation is demanding in that moment. So for me, it's very it's my style, but it's very critical for me to not think. Actually, thinking doesn't help me with writing.
I think that's a beautiful zone to be. I mean, just if it's flowing, it's flowing, and I can kind of make out as well that it's not like now I'll write. That is not perhaps your process. That now
No,
I'll write whatever. So it's just so random. It's like that. So it's beautiful. I am not complaining at all, because that's what has ended up on paper. It's beautiful. Tell me something. You must have gotten several reviews now, because this is your third book, right? I mean, readers must have interacted with you, people who follow you on social media. By the way, I read that you are not on social media, kind of, you try to stay away from it?
I was off from social, like my account was active, but I
Okay.
was off from it properly for 1 year.
Okay.
And then because we were launching this new book, so I hired someone to as my social media manager to handle mostly everything. So I do less work on social media now.
Yeah.
Personally, engagement is low.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I prefer it that way. Yeah. For me, I had to look at everything very carefully and be like, where do I want to put my energy? Is it because I'm not a social media influencer? That's not why I got onto social media. It was
Right.
more to just share about the books. So
Yeah.
I want to put my energy into creating and in my craft,
Right.
and utilize the help of people who are experts
Right.
into managing what needs to be done for practical aspects.
Wow.
So that's the balance I'm kind of working on. But yeah, I don't like being on social media. It's not my it's not my
How does it affect a writer? Because it's a very double-edged sword. Like, you want to be seen for your books, and you don't want to be seen because, of course, you are a writer, you are writing about these things, and the zone you're writing in, it's completely, it's not like other stuff. Like, it's not romance as such, where you can be on social media, influence people and all of that jazz. You're meeting people, you are learning, and of course teaching people as well, not in the true sense or whatever, but you are doing this offline so much. How does it affect you, I mean, while writing a book
It's
or
hard, man. I have to be very honest. I
yeah.
have struggled with this. It
Okay.
is. I still struggle with it. It's something I have to work very consciously to maintain my
Yeah.
balance with my phone. And I am someone who is a more off social media person. I am someone who does like to go in my zones and go deep into my writing, because when I am more on social media, I'm not able to write as properly as possible as I would like to, because to be in the zone of writing, for me to write, I need to be really present and really away from distractions and away from the digital world. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I'm working on it, like all of us, trying to find a balance with it. But yeah, it's doable.
It's quite similar for reading as well. I mean, you can't simply just pick up a book. These notifications are just killing reading.
Yeah, man.
It is so intrusive. I can't start talking about that. But okay,
At least
one.
with reading, with reading, you can get into it, you can get out of it, and then you can get back into it. With writing, the struggle is to, uh, it's different. Writing just requires just so much concentration and so much presence, like really good quality writing. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of me being able to arrive in the zone where I can write.
Yeah.
So all that process is quite can be a bit challenging to control with life stuff and practical life stuff. So that is something I do struggle with. Like, for example, this new book I'm writing, like it's taking me a long time to write it, but at the same time, like once I get into those zones and I'm able to have those zones for long periods of time. Like this monsoon, I was able to write a lot,
Okay.
more than I've written in 1.5 years
Yeah.
of the new book. So I started the new book properly again this monsoon. I put the old draft back, and then I just got into this zone. And 3 months, I was just churning out a lot of words.
Yeah.
So I think everyone's process is different. Mine is definitely that requires me to be more balanced with the social media world, because honestly, like the social media world takes my energy more than me getting anything back from it, because I'm a person who is in the limelight, who is a writer, who is interacting with people, but I'm a very introverted kind of person as well. I like being more inside. I like my depth comes from being inside,
Yeah.
and not lose that authenticity is very important for me, because my writing journey, the craft is all about authenticity and sharing
Yeah.
with people like something real,
Yeah.
not like sugarcoat things or write something superficial. So I think that is a challenge for sure.
It's quite easy easy to be superficial in this zone, right? You can
It
do it.
is.
You know the
Yeah.
truth, right? How to be slightly more. I can give this sort of this chapter a little bit of frill here and there. You can do it easily. I mean, this
Yeah,
genre
and
is
also
like that.
people are looking for that as well in some sense. They are looking for the easy truths, the easy answers, what is more
As
comfortable. But that's not my journey. Like my journey is about putting readers in uncomfortable situations as well, like demanding from them to ask questions that they're avoiding to ask themselves. So I'm consciously always trying to break down the barriers of superficiality and to go deeper into my journey of truth, and that I think reflects in my writing. And I think that's why I mean, if I observe, like if I watch myself as a writer, and the impact this my work has been creating in people, is it's creating a lot of loyal following. It's creating a lot of readership amongst youth of India, where they have respect for my writing, because they are being introduced to something that is different than the others. It's not Bollywood, it's not self-help books. It's
it is
something that is
so
that they feel they're going through in their lives.
in the publisher's mind is market kya hai bhai?
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
the market? So I was like, dude, this is ballsy, because it is not easy to publish something like this and then get readership for it. That's a bigger question. And
मैं तो
youth,
मेरे नेक्स्ट बुक का सोच रहा हूँ, पब्लिशर्स देख के कोई करने नहीं वाला पब्लिश उसमें,
नहीं
तो
होगा.
मतलब मैंने अपनी गट्स को ही तोड़ रहा हूँ मैं. लाइक आई एम गोइंग सो रॉ ब्रो. दिस न्यू बुक आई एम राइटिंग, आई एम गोइंग really 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 raw, and like really bringing the underground into the scene, like really going very deep with
Yeah,
human spectrums. It could also be one of those books which could be controversial for many,
yeah.
because is talking and sharing about topics that nobody is actually openly talking about as deeply as I am introducing in these
Maybe because
books.
it's
In the,
not marketable. It happens. Some people do think about it, but eventually they think, yeah, con, matlab,
you
let
know,
it be.
I'll tell you something, bro. Like marketability is the second aspect. I think the first aspect is just the fear. I think you have to overcome a lot of fear inside yourself to be able to write and be willing to share something that you really feel like it's, like if something is coming from such a deep place in you, no matter how it looks like, it's gonna touch people. So marketability aspect is something I don't think about so much, because I focus more on the craft itself. Like I trust the craft. I feel like if you're gonna be writing something that's coming from such a deep and honest place, like it doesn't matter what it is that you're writing, it's gonna touch people. So I think, and that's what I think the writing industry in India is struggling with a lot. There's just too much cut copy paste, there's just too much thinking about marketability, and even writers are not I feel like they're not thinking like they're not being brave enough. They're not taking that brave
Yeah,
step to go deep into the craft, to really trust the craft, to really kind of explore the darkness, explore the other side of humanity, and bring that into the picture. And like you can be bringing the messages are going to be love, light, and wisdom, and all these things, and peace, but you gotta like showcase the aspects of what is holding us back. And I think as writers or any creative people, we need to be really brave at the moment, and be very fearless. I think that's the first step. Marketability is second.
yes.
I really feel that way.
And I think so. Who else will talk about it? I mean, in the Indian scenario, we are the people who can talk about it best because we have everything at our disposal, to kind of explore
Yeah,
in our
and
country.
if you like think about it, like in terms of if you take out the self-help books tangent from India, in Indian writing industry, like Indian writers, people are like in these kind of topics, youth of India are not reading Indian writers much,
Oh,
because they're
true.
not connecting with them that much, and the outside writers they're reading are the writers who are really going deep into the craft.
Yeah.
So I think there's a huge demand from writers writers in India to really up their game in terms of the craft.
Yeah.
And I think if you are really trying to go deep into writing as a writer, as becoming a writer, but and not just some self-help guru,
Yeah.
like you need to really go deep into the craft. And I think that's something I had to also tell myself, like, bro, you're not doing this to become a self-help guru. Like, this is not your intention or
I
purpose to
think that
become like,
easier path, I suppose, because
huh?
it becomes an easier path. I think so.
It's an
If you
easier path. It's a more commercial path. It's already been done before many times, and people are
yes,
cut, copy, and paste. They're like, okay, let's become like Sadhguru, let's become like Uncle Wariku, let's become like Jay Shetty. So
yes,
it's like it's not something new. They're not being brave. They're not like creating something new. They're not giving to people what people are really going through. So they are just playing it safe, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like ऐसा पैसा लगाओगे, इतना ऐसी बुक, अगर ये मटेरियल होगा बुक में, इतना
uh,
मार्केट है, it's all a
right,
business, which is fine, but then you cannot be calling themselves writers. Like, I don't think Jay Shetty is a writer. For me,
yes,
he's a self-help guy who has written a self-help book, which is nice, but it's like there's no innovation in his writing. He's just taken a lot of things that people have
I
already said and like rearranged it and published it in his name and sold a lot of copies.
yes,
I can do that any day. Like,
I,
it's not that hard. I
I
can write something like that, put a lot of money in marketing, and make a book a million copies bestseller. So that's not an issue. It's doable. It's many people have done it. But I
yeah,
think the key is to really focus on the product itself. To be like, मुझे क्या product बनाना है? Like,
right,
what is the product? Like, my first book, I'll be very honest. Like, I've realized it this year.
yeah,
Dream Beyond Shadows was launched 6 years ago, and
yes,
it's becoming very popular now in the masses. So it was launched as a book which was ahead of its time in
uh,
some ways. Like the things I'd introduced in Dream Beyond Shadows, my experiences, the plant medicines from Amazon jungles. Like, people didn't in India didn't know about it at that time. And when
yeah,
if I would have thought कि यार इसको market कैसे करूँगा, I would have never launched it.
yeah.
So I think there's an aspect of you need to trust your gut and just be brave and go for it.
Awesome. I wanted to come back to the book a little bit because, and this is my final before we go away. The relation, there are two letters in the book with between the two brothers, James and Samir, right? Yes,
Yeah.
Samir. So it was very sort of uncomfortable. Again, you did it to me. It was very uncomfortable because people who have gone through, and a lot of us, when we are so focused, ultra focused, hyper focused in this day and age towards what we want to achieve, this is the template, right? Kind of, doing this, that, and all of a sudden it all comes down in front of us. What happens to these people we have left behind? It's the book is also about that,
Yeah, yeah.
and how to end these things. uh, Talk us through a little bit about this because it's happening to.
Yeah. It's actually very funny. There's a connection between the book I'm writing now and Unheard, in the sense, like, I've touched on some subjects with, let's say, the story of James and his brother Samir, and his father and all these stuff, which is very kind of like ancestral trauma kind of stuff, if
Yes,
you really look at it that way.
yes,
And in the new book I'm writing, I'm exploring traumas a lot through my characters and the healing that happens. So I think the new book will really complement Unheard in answering this question in a deeper sense. But I'll get to answering this question as well. I think if we look at it from a very observatory point of view, I think the world of humans is really complicated now, man. It's like relationships are very complicated, families are very complicated, things have gotten very messy, and we have somehow forgotten through all of this, like the true nature of our beings, of oneness, of being loving, of like being compassionate, of forgiveness, and all these things. So I think that's where I want people to go uh, in their lives as well, with their relationships. Like, you can be ambitious, you can be pursuing your dreams, but without leaving people behind, or at least not ties fully away, or if so, if you're doing it in a way that is healthy. So I think there's a lot of collective healing that I'm pointing out towards with my works. I think the next work will really give people a lot of solutions and insights into their traumas and ancestral traumas that play roles between siblings, father, son, mother, daughter, these kind of relationships, and how it has impacted us just not now but from centuries.
Yeah.
So it's a hard question to answer because it's a very deep question, because like you will be surprised how common it is now, these problems in relationships,
It
so
is.
there's a huge. Huh?
Karthik, I have not checked at all. I see it all around me. It's
Yeah, so
every.
it's there's definitely something on a collective level that's happening, no, for this to be like it's not something that's just happening to one person. It's happening to so many people. So it's a big collective pattern. It's a big collective trauma, and it has deeper ties than we can imagine, actually. And I think that's why these conversations, these characters need to be created and shared with people to bring light to that. So, like if let's say Unheard is bringing light to a lot of subject, the new book will give answers to a lot of people to how to deal with that, or to how to look at that, and I think that's the work I'm interested in life right now. Like that's where I want to take people.
Wonderful. I'm so happy. It's such a fresh voice that you are bringing in to the literary world, and I'm taken aback a little bit because I didn't expect this universe of yours that you're creating to be like, what you have managed to, kind of write throughout these years. And I'm happy that that social media helped me get to you, and I'm very happy for that at least. So yeah,
Yeah,
guys,
social
this is
media is great for that. It has its
for
benefits.
readers. It's good.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for writing this. It's called Unheard. And of course, the previous books as well. Do check them out on Amazon as well. And I don't know if the books are in independent bookstores or
they
bookstores
are
around.
they are yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kahin mil jayegi. Just pick up your
It's also
copies.
in Dehradun airport.
देहरादून एयरपोर्ट में है. So
Yeah.
yeah, I missed it there. But आपने मार्केट करके आगे नहीं रखवाई होगी, that's fine.
यार बहुत पैसे मांगते हैं ये लोग, इतना पैसा है रे.
I know. So, once it is found, it is found. That's the bottom line. And do check out the book. And of course, Kartikeya, do you interact with readers offline as well, or?
Yeah, I've started again. I went to Indore Literature Fest this month, and it was
Okay.
amazing, man. So I'm starting to do more physical stuff,
Very nice.
because it is an experience that I really enjoy, and it's yeah. I am definitely more physical person, so I'm getting myself out again into those zones and spaces. So yeah.
Whenever you want to venture in to the Himalayas, stop by in Dehradun and we'll do something
Done.
In
Done.
an offline thing, which would be
I mean,
more. मैं भी offline वाला बंदा हूँ. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I'll message you when I'm in that area. I'll message you.
See you soon, and thank you so much for these
Take
books.
care.
And
Lots of love.
best of luck for the next one as well.
Best
Thank
of
you.
luck to you as well. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.